you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
It is Friday night. It is the OK Coin Studio. It is Sean Stanley. It is the Squared Circle Digest SmackDown off the air right now. I'm watching Peacock, the WWE Hall of Fame. See, I'm all spiffied up. Let me fix that bow tie there. All spiffied up. It is WrestleMania weekend, of course. Right now, they've got McAfee and Cole talking. Looks like the Hall of Fame starts in about 9 minutes. And you've got Queen Sharmell, the Steiner Brothers, Vader, and the Undertaker being inducted into the Hall of Fame. AEW Rampage kicks off with the Young Bucks taking on Top Flight. And also, if you're interested in any other shows going on, the ROH Supercard, FTR defeated the Briscoes and are the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. And the Young Bucks made an appearance as well. And just a moment ago, Rhett Titus was defeated by Minoru Suzuki, and he is the new ROH TV title. So we'll see what happens and continues on there. SmackDown tonight, it's pretty good. It was a decent SmackDown. I didn't like the ending. I don't know why they had Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin closing out leading into night one of Raw. I would have rather have seen, if anything, Charlotte and Ronda once again maybe going at it a little bit. Drew and Happy Corbin, to me, it's ran its damn course. I mean, I'm over it. I'm happy it's at WrestleMania now because I don't have to watch it. Hopefully this ends the feud, and it looks like what they're going to probably doing is Madcap Moss and Corbin. I think there's going to be a little riff there, and you'll see those two go at it. Ricochet gets a victory. A champion picks up a victory on TV. Good job, WWE. Imagine that. Make your champion look good. But then, or a little bit later, Finn Balor defeated by Austin Theory in a 6-man tag. Right back down the drain with the titles there as your U.S. champion gets pinned on TV, which is what WWE does. They just give guys titles to carry around because all they are to get beaten and set up for your title contender match, and then you get a contender match, and guess what happens? Then you get a victory. Just doesn't make sense to me. We got night one coming up, Hall of Fame, about 6 minutes away. And again, you've got Queen Sharmell and Vader, the Steiner Brothers, and of course the Undertaker. Queen Sharmell, I don't think they did the Hall of Fame right this year. When you look at everybody going in the Hall of Fame, I don't think they pushed it like they pushed it in years past. Usually every Raw and, they're introducing a new person being inducted. They go back through everybody that's being inducted. I didn't feel that this year. It was kind of like you had the Undertaker announced, of course. You had Vader announced, of course. Then Sharmell was announced 2 weeks ago, and then the Steiners were announced, coming up to this week. But other than that, I mean, I don't think they marketed the Hall of Fame. Maybe they thought because the Undertaker was going in and they just didn't need to. And by all means, I mean, I'm sure the crowd there, again, they're doing it after the SmackDown. So where they held SmackDown now, they're giving some time now. So of course they can probably take the ring ropes down or whatever they're going to do with the stage. They'll probably set up in the ring once again. And they will do the Steve, what's up? I like your shirt a lot more than I like tonight's SmackDown. Yeah, I mean, look, I think tonight's SmackDown was more about let's not get anybody injured, and let's get into WrestleMania unscathed, and just give a couple matches, and let's get to the Hall of Fame and everything else going on at, again, WrestleMania weekend. I mean, it starts Thursday. There, if you follow any of the WWE accounts, any of the wrestling accounts, you get so much going on. It's a lot more than just show up in the town and do. There's Make a Wish today. I saw some stuff with Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair. Who else was there? Can't remember. There's one more that was there, but ultimately, I mean, you're doing all those rounds, all these, all the talent going around, doing all that. Of course, you've got the Hall of Fame tonight, so everybody's in town. I've seen Trish and Lita. They're heading to the Hall of Fame. I saw Beth already on Instagram, and you see all them, getting ready for this night. And again, I think that's also why you didn't see a lot of the big names necessarily on the SmackDown, because again, now they've got to be out here for the Hall of Fame, and I doubt you'll see. You might see Roman. I don't know. Usually, you don't see the main event guys at the ceremony, but again, this is the Undertaker we're talking about, who's always a locker room leader. Again, do they have suites up there to where some of the talent that maybe you're not going to see on camera and things like that? It's going to be very interesting. Great show so far. Appreciate that. From probably my number one fan right there. But it's going to be interesting to see, again, with the Hall of Fame. My biggest takeaway, and I don't know if you can hear it because I got it up a little bit loud, but not too loud, is I want to hear Scott Steiner. I want to hear Scott Steiner get a mic. I want to hear what they do with him and what he says, because he says, good point. I was thinking about that earlier, that they better be careful with Ronda and Charlotte. They're getting a little carried away the last few weeks. Yeah, I think that's why they didn't do any of that, this week. I would have rather have seen maybe a face-off or maybe a big pull-apart at the end. Maybe Ronda starts coming down more than what I saw with Drew McIntyre. I just don't understand Drew McIntyre, Happy Corbin ending SmackDown. Maybe it was just to give everybody the opportunity, what they're doing now. They've got to get the ring cleaned out. It went off about 5 minutes early, and then they started pushing Saturday night, and then they went into Sunday night, the cards. That's what McAfee and Cole were doing there. So ultimately, I think, yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things. Excuse me. No, I'm not drinking lime juice. Yeah, you have to watch. You have to be careful with the, especially with, in this feud, it's about the physicality with Charlotte and Ronda. And that's one of the things. I mean, you've got to, lay that in there. You don't know. I mean, look what happened again. Big E and Holland. I mean, that was just a over the head, belly to belly. That's a move that's probably been done numerous times by Rich Holland and taken by Big E. All it takes is that one slip up, and now he's got a broken neck, and then that can eliminate a main event match at WrestleMania. It's one of those things, like, as they get closer to WrestleMania, you're going to see the stars get more of the, the Make-A-Wish, they build the homes, they go out to the playgrounds, they do the libraries, they do Be a Star, they do all the other stuff that is, I guess, required to be a WWE superstar. Again, you got to be out in the community. And then now the Hall of Fame less than a minute away. So now they're coming back in. And yeah, it looks like what they did was they took out one side of the ring. They're showing Edge and Beth there. The Bella twins are in attendance. No Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan, or however you want to look at it. It looks like they did sit some of the wrestlers. They must have. Oh, in New York, they did. They put them on the stage. The current talent are up on the stage. Trish Stratus, Lita. You got Bianca Belair, Montez Ford, Nikki Ash, ASH, whatever it is. So they're bringing out the stars now. The WWE superstars coming out of the back in there. And what they did was they took down one side of ropes, And the side with the hard camera, of course, will be the side that they'll be getting introduced and conducting their Hall of Fame speeches. The WWE did a beautiful statue of the Undertaker, probably one of the better ones I think I've seen. As far as a lot of them have like maybe a little bit on the face, a little bit off, but this one was pretty spot on. So I was pretty good with that. And then you saw all of the group. What do they call themselves? KDSM, is it something like that? They have Mitty in there, Henry Godwin, Savio Vega, Godfather, Rikishi, all those guys there with the Undertaker's little support system. Of course, his wife and his daughter there as well. But man, AEW, Jade Cargill is going to be, it looks like going to be fighting here soon. But looking forward to this WrestleMania. I will be doing a pre-show, trying to have some guests lined up for that as well to kick off WrestleMania weekend. We're going to do it Saturday and Sunday. We'll probably start at about 7 o'clock, and we'll take you up to about bell time, maybe a little bit before. We'll do it Saturday night and Sunday night, looking at both cards, breaking down a couple of the matches, and maybe trying to get some. We'll try to get some people on to give us some insight in some of the other matches and everything else. Maybe we'll, again, of course, the chat's always open, so you guys can throw it in there as well. Matches on Saturday that I'm looking forward to. I know it's kind of drawn me away from it, but I am looking to see what they want to do with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair from the standpoint of, I don't know if Ronda's going to be a full-time player. Okay. All right. We'll have to see about that. But Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, when you're sitting there, I believe they're going to be first, Steve. I believe you're going to be able to sit there, watch that. Stone Cold's going to be last, of course, because they're going to make you wait till the end to see that one. And then again, WWE has this thing where they use that first match to open up the card as a main event slot too, because that's the first thing that, your first match going on and opening up the pay-per-view to get the matches started. So I think ultimately you're going to see, I believe, Ronda and Charlotte open up WrestleMania. So it'll be interesting there. But as I said, I'm interested to see what they do with Ronda as far as, is she a full-timer again? Is she really? Because there's times where she almost looks bored. And when you watch her, there's times where she just kind of like, yeah, you know what? I really don't need this in a way. It feels that way. And again, maybe it comes across because she's so dry on the microphone, but it almost comes across that, you know what? Hey, I'm coming in, I'm doing my job, and then I'm leaving. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. Do they boost up Charlotte, putting her over on Ronda, or does Ronda get the belt? And then after that, who's next, though? When you look at the SmackDown roster, I mean, I honestly think Naomi and Sasha, or Liv or Rhea, one of those two are going to get the tag team straps. So if you do put the straps on Sasha and Naomi, you've taken Sasha out of there. So you've got, if I'm not mistaken, it'll be, if Ronda Rousey is the champion now, you'll have Charlotte Flair, Shayna Baszler, Natalya, trying to think of the heels on SmackDown. And so you'll have those will be the three that would be, you're in the contenders right now. And none of them are really, I mean, unless you throw a Carmella or a Zelina in there. Willie Alex Warrior Molina, man, what is going on? Becky Lynch. Yeah. You know what though? This is interesting too. And, I was on a show yesterday and James Ellsworth was on it with Turnbuckle Entertainment with SoCal. And, they had James on it and we were talking because I brought up, the thing about, it was weird that, they went the route of Bianca cutting her hair. To me, it kind of threw everything off. And one of the things that I did think, and James kind of thought the same thing, which kind of made me feel good as far as the way I'm thinking about this, is Becky, I think, is winning this match. And then ultimately, I think what they do is they run it back with Bianca putting her ponytail on the line for the title. Because it makes no sense for Bianca to cut her hair leading into a regular match. So I think ultimately what's going to happen, Becky does, big time Bex does her thing and cheats or something, somehow gets the victory over, Bianca. And then Bianca on Raw will come out and be like, you know what, at the next pay-per-view, I'll put my pony, she'll probably come out and Becky will be like, no, for a couple of weeks, like, no. And then finally Bianca will be like, you know what? I'll put my ponytail on the line against the championship. And then you'll see that ran back. Maybe they played out a couple pay-per-views. I don't know. But I just don't see now with the way they did that, I don't see Bianca getting the victory at WrestleMania now. I see it, her cheated out of it, and then she comes and puts the ponytail against the title, ultimately. So we'll see how that goes. 1987 Glow Girls, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely, man. It's one of those things too, man. And again, you see the level that they've taken when you look at the two women's titles. The levels that they've taken these matches to, man. I mean, I get it. Ronda and Charlotte and Bianca and Becky have built a great history since Becky returned and beat her in 26 seconds. So they've created a great quick history. Ronda and Charlotte have had that history already, built up and everything there. So they've had that story. And ultimately, I think they've done a great job with building the story. They lost me a little bit when they were doing all the, the fights in the back and everything. But again, the story that they've told, minus all the crap that they've done attacking each other and all that stuff, I think has set these two matches up to be very, very interesting and to see where they go. Because ultimately, when you think about it, Bianca Belair with the ponytail, she's saying that's just as important to her, or more, actually, the belt is more important to her than the ponytail because she's going to put the ponytail on the line for that belt. And I think ultimately, again, that's building the prestige of the title, which is something they don't do with a lot of the mid cards. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do. I'm very interested in those two matches on night one Saturday. Of course, you're Stone Cold definitely there. And then, of course, Seth, and I believe it's going to be Cody. But, hey, you never know. And that's another thing that's very interesting to me, too, if you keep an eye on this. Tonight, Pat McAfee went after Austin Theory. Kicks in the door. McMahon comes storming out. Remember, McMahon handpicked Austin Theory to be McAfee's opponent, right? On the McAfee show, he said, hey, I'm going to handpick you an opponent, and you're going to fight them at WrestleMania. Well, he's also handpicking Seth Rollins' opponent, if you remember that. So now I'm wondering if there's going to be some type of faction maybe brought together, Austin Theory, Cody Rhodes, with Vince McMahon. And then maybe you bring in somebody else and maybe a tag team as well. And now you can start another faction that way, using Vince McMahon, maybe bringing him back on air a little bit. Or you keep doing with what he's doing with Austin Theory. Austin Theory runs into his office, then he comes out and he does his Vinnie Mac stuff, and there you go. So that's another thing that I'm very interested to see, because the two hand-picked matches are, of course, Austin Theory and what I believe is going to be Cody Rhodes. So does that become something? We'll find out on Raw, hopefully the night after. Willie asks, remember the Von Erichs. Remember them all. David, Kevin, Mike, Carrie, Fritz, even Lance Von Erich, who wasn't even a Von Erich. Great family. Just a lot of bad stuff on there. But that was, again, back in the territory days where you used your blood. Your blood was basically your company. It happened right here in Florida, right? Eddie Graham with Mike Graham. And then they got Dusty involved and it went up from there. But, again, with Fritz Von Erich, his whole thing was, who do I trust? Who do I put my trust in the company? There's nobody better than your sons who you've raised. And they were gods in Texas. Yes, they're gods in Texas. Ric Flair as well. I would love to see Becky snap more by the hair like the Fabulous Moolah used to do in the old days. Yeah, I think you're going to see again. That's another. Maybe ultimately maybe it's a disqualification in the Becky Bianca. Maybe Becky snaps or Bianca snaps. Or maybe they just both snap and it's a double disqualification. I just hope they don't do that because I hate those matches that are going to end. I would rather have a cheat win than like a disqualification, especially after a WrestleMania that's been built up for months, and then to do a DQ finish to me at that point. I just but they've had a couple things. If you go online, who was it? Gorilla Position has actually a interview with Kevin Owens, and Becky comes into it with her hair. Now she's dyed it orange or red, um, and they were messing. They're like Kevin Owens, like, hey, you look even better now with your haircut than you did. Bianca did you a favor, So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that from there. But it was a very interesting thing they did on Monday because, look, I get it. She can go for Bianca's, she's the heel. It surprised me when Bianca picked up the scissors and started cutting and throwing her hair around. It really was that kind of like, oh, wait a minute. They put this story up. Tell us about the Texas tornado. We don't know. He was my favorite wrestler growing up. Man, I mean, I don't know about a lot of stories. I mean, he's in a motorcycle accident and he used prosthetic on his leg. So he basically, he had a prosthetic on his leg, which is when he went to WWE, he basically was wrestling. I believe it was from his knee down. That the whole boot area was basically like a prosthetic. I mean, I don't know if you know that or if that's one of the things. The reason he was the heavyweight title, and again, some of these stories not so good, but the reason he won the NWA title, but then he was showing up late to appearances, and that's why the title got switched back over to Ric Flair so quickly. And again, the title was supposed to go to David Von Erich. David Von Erich was groomed to become the NWA title by his dad, by the NWA, by everybody else. He was that Magnum TA before Magnum TA was there. And then ultimately, again, he passed away tragically in Japan. Kerry got put into that position. And I just don't know that Kerry was ready for it at that point in his career. And then he just, he won the title, beating Ric Flair and at Texas Stadium. And then less than a month later, he ended up given the NWA title, had to end up, Ric Flair ended up winning the title back. And then that started, again, you got him in the Freebird, them in the Freebirds and all that stuff, man. Again, that's stuff that if you go back and you watch those, you talk about storytelling. Von Erichs and the Freebirds and that feud. It started with, Michael slamming Kerry's head in the door taking on, I think, Ric Flair actually in Texas. And then it went on forever. Got a little bit crazy with Fritz Von Erich and everybody, having a heart attack in the ring for a 6-man title, and things like that. But ultimately, it's one of those things. Yeah, Freebirds in Texas. Yep. Before this, actually, this was before he became Texas Tornado. Was him in WWE. But before that, that's when he had all his success. I thought his WWE stuff was not that good. Honestly, I mean, he had some good highlights, but the Freebirds was Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, and Buddy Roberts. If you look back, go back to World Class Championship Wrestling. If you have the WWE Network, check out the rise and fall of WCCW, which is World Class Championship Wrestling. But it is one of the feuds, and actually, if you do watch that, you'll learn a lot about the Von Erichs. Maybe some stuff you may not want to know about them, depending on, again, I love the documentaries. I love the shoot interviews. I love listening to things that you don't get to hear necessarily all the time. The Steiner Brothers now are getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Scott Steiner has got he's on the mic, actually. They got him on the mic, so very interesting. Braun Breaker, which is Rick Steiner's son, was the one that introduced them. So they are now on there. Armando, anytime, man. Anytime. I appreciate you tuning in, and I love talking wrestling, man. Love talking wrestling, and there's no right and wrong to me on wrestling views, because everybody, what I like you may not like, and what you like I may not like, and it's the one thing that I love about wrestling is that, again, it's just people that can be respectful and have some good conversation. That was a great feud. Steve said you could really suspend reality and think that I mean, think about this too. When they did that feud, Buddy Roberts lost his hair because of the cream, which originally they put in, I believe it was Kevin's eyes, and then it blinded Kevin, which set up for the 6-man tag again, which at that time, Buddy Roberts lost his hair because he had it on his hand to put in the face. They ducked, and he ended up smacking himself in the hair, and then his hair was removed because he used that. And again, when you look back at World Class Championship Wrestling, and I mean, they had so much great talent, man. Chris Adams, Gino Hernandez, another untimely death. You had Iceman King Parsons there. You had the Dingo Warrior, who ultimately became the Ultimate Warrior. You had Mark Calloway, of course, who became the Undertaker. You had a lot of these guys down there before they ended up going to WCW and all those. I mean, it was a great territory. Bruiser Brody would go there a lot. That world-class territory was tremendous, man. And if you do get a chance and you have not seen it, go to the WWE Network and check out, the rise and fall of World Class Championship Wrestling. And if you get a chance, you can see some of the shows. I loved those shows back in the day on ESPN. They used to, the face would just be in the corner signing autographs as he's getting introduced, and the fans are all at the ring. And then the bell would ring, and they go back to their seats. It was at the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas. And I mean, it was good stuff. And then you had the AWA back then. I mean, again, you had territories, and a lot of the guys, Vince ended up, even though they really ran it into the ground every single week, they always had great matches. One of the great feuds ever. Yeah. But again, it was Fritz, getting his money makers over. It was the money makers, Kerry, Kevin. I mean, they were rock stars in Dallas. I mean, as I think it was Armando said earlier, they were gods. They really were gods in Texas, in Dallas. They were gods. I met Tully and Nikita Koloff at Hardy's in the 80s. Awesome. Actually, Tully is now in Ring of Honor. He started 3 guys with his new Tully Blanchard Enterprises, and one of them was Brian Cage. Tonight at ROH, which is now ran by Tony Khan at the ROH Supercard. He's now managing Brian Cage. So it's going to be interesting to see what that equates to rolling over to AEW. Because you remember FTR now fired Tully Blanchard. And FTR tonight beat the Briscoes for the ROH tag team titles. And Minoru Suzuki beat Rhett Titus right now for the TV title. I have not seen the heavyweight titles. They're doing a winner take all, Bandito and John Gresham and Bandito, which I think John Gresham will get that, which I hope they do. I love John Gresham. But yeah, no, I actually did a show with Nikita Koloff in Fort Pierce. He was doing, he's into, it was when, what's the right thing to say? He did a talk, or, religious kind of talk. And then we had, matches along with the card. And it was great to meet him. It was great to meet him, to see the man that he is. And remember, man, he left wrestling. He left wrestling. He just said, you know what? Family's more important. He left. He said, hey, my family's more important. Wife, daughter, and I think his wife was sick at the time. And he was just like, nah, I'm done. So I might have to go back and rewatch this Rick and Scott Steiner. There's a lot of Scott's saying a lot of stuff right now, so going to be interested to see what he says. Uh, yeah, no, no, totally. Yeah, it's Totally, Ted DiBiase, Nikita Koloff, Sting, a lot of those guys, Shawn Michaels now as well. But they were running shows, using some of the local talent and like one or two big names, and we were lucky enough to be on the I guess undercard of it all, really, just to be the guys to attack people. And again, they did the storytelling of it all using wrestling, and it was very, very eye-opening. And to hear uh, to get a chance to talk to Nikita Koloff and to hear him, just his vision of what he was doing at that point. And again, this was a while ago, probably 10 years ago. So things have changed, um, but man, it's very interesting to sit there. It was very really, yeah. I mean, I can believe that, man. Again, especially a lot of those guys in that era, man. It was just wrestle, party, maybe sleep, wrestle, party, yeah, maybe sleep. That's what they did back then, man. And then that was their lifestyle. I mean, so I'm sure a lot of them, had to later in life do that, man. It probably a lot of them do become very, I mean, Shawn Michaels probably one of the biggest, Ted DiBiase as well. Oh, Tatanka as well, really, Armando. Okay, okay. I've been fortunate enough to work with him, with Chris on some cards, and one of the guys that I teamed with was actually trained at the Monster Factory with him. So it was, you know, again, a lot of those guys just are tremendous, man. They take time out, talk to you. If you ask them to, they'll watch your match. They'll break it down. Sometimes tell you things you probably don't want to hear, but things you need to hear. And he's one of those guys, man. He's Tatanka's a very good guy. Um, he's a Lumbee. Like, okay, okay, good deal. Yeah, no, he had a great career, man. I loved it. I love the gimmick, and I love. We were at the who loves him, the Seminole, not Seminole. I'm sorry, Mikasuki. The Mikasuki. Every time we did a show there, um, they wanted Tatanka on the card. Um, every card that we did there, they wanted him on there. And the Steiners just finished up with their. I didn't hear Rick talk a whole lot, but Scott said a lot of stuff and got some boos actually from the crowd or something I heard. So I'm going to be very interested to see that. Interesting. The Steiners kicked it off. I guess, they'll do the Steiners, then sandwich in Charmel and Vader. And then of course go back and then Undertaker. I mean, I will stay up and watch the Undertaker. I'll tell you right now, won't have the show going until the Undertaker comes on because they'll probably push him out. I'll probably go about 5 or 10 more minutes, man. Again, just love talking wrestling. You got any questions, throw it in the chat. It's WrestleMania weekend. There's a bunch of crap happening all around Dallas. The Ring of Honor Supercard is going down right now. And also, I forgot to say, when I was doing the Ring of Honor Supercard, the Young Bucks made an appearance and actually super kicked the Briscoes after the match and accepted FTR's match for Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. So again, they're going to work in the ROH and AEW Dynamite. So it's going to be interesting to see will the Briscoes appear on AEW. And again, forbidden doors are being opened. So WrestleMania again tomorrow night and Sunday night. And don't forget also NXT Stand and Delivered. I think that's going to be a pretty good, badass show. And that starts at noon tomorrow. So don't forget about that as well. Noon tomorrow, NXT Stand and Deliver. And then 7 o'clock pre-show. We're going to actually do a pre-show here as well, getting you ready for WrestleMania. Both nights, 7 to about 7:45. We might go to 8, depending on how everything goes. But we will be off the air before the bell rings for the start of the show and America the Beautiful being sung this year in Dallas. Trying to see who's next, the inductee. And it's going to be Queen Charmel is going to be inducted next. I'm sure Booker T will be involved in that one. Interesting though, Queen Charmel too is I know she revolutionized a little bit of the valet there, but wondering what went into her induction. Just as I mean, again, she wasn't a Trish Stratus, Alita. She was a great valet though for Booker and his gimmick, the King and Queen Charmel. I mean, I just don't know again, but again, it's the WWE Hall of Fame. It's wrestling, so she did have some. She did open up a lot of doors for a lot of talent that you're seeing today. So again, I forgot about that. She was a Nitro girl. Totally forgot about that. It's so funny. Booker T was Charmel, Nitro girl. Shawn Michaels ended up marrying a Nitro girl. It's hilarious how much of this stuff intertwines. So funny, man. They're showing a lot of stuff back from the WCW days, and man, you get to reminisce a lot. Another thing too, if you get a chance, WWE Network, the Evil, it's WWE Evil. It's kind of going into the heels of the WWE. They got Ric Flair. They got one Ric Flair, one on Stephanie McMahon, one on Randy Orton, of course Undertaker and Kane. Enjoy dinner, my man. Good deal, man. Good deal. All right, Armando, appreciate it, man. You have a great meal. And Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I was up there in Jacksonville for the Marine Corps. But what I was getting at was some of the inductions are head scratchers. You've got Jobbers, SC Jones, Johnny Rods as Hall of Famers. Yeah, but again, with those guys in those days, those guys were really, they were the Johnny Rods was the guy that, and SD Jones that was pushing the talent up at that time. Yeah, they were jobbers, but back then it was, they won at the live shows and then on TV they got beat. So they got pushed up at the live shows, which nobody really saw a lot of. But then they lost on TV to your new up and comers, and things like that. Just like Barry Horowitz, I mean, it's all the same. I mean, a lot of those guys, yeah, they were jobbers, but they did their job and they did exactly, and I think SD Jones, man, SD Jones, dude, was tremendous. There's a lot of guys in the W that, again, you have to look at what, again, when I talk about Charmel, I just meant as far as in the ring, but when I look at back and I've watched kind of what they were talking about, just the barriers that she kind of broke down and did and became. I mean, there's little things like that. Johnny Rods has also trained a lot of WWE superstars. SD Jones did a lot of things, but I do understand when you think Hall of Fame and you think, NFL Hall of Fame and things like that. It's like, but in wrestling, a lot of time it's what their imprint has been on the business, not necessarily just what you watched on TV, week in and week out on your Tuesday Night Titans and SD Jones getting beat by Iron Mike Sharp and everybody else. Iron Mike Sharp, I think only victory was against SD Jones. And that was when they were doing the whole thing with him in his brace there. So, but again, tomorrow night, 7:00 WrestleMania pregame show. We will get you started. Hopefully we'll have some special guests on. We will send out the link tomorrow. Until then, as always, in the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the Sunshine State. And before I go, I do got to thank Armando, of course, Steve, everybody in the chat, Willie, everybody that's been in there and everybody that's tuned in and listening. And if you download the podcast, thank you for the tremendous support. And again, tomorrow night, it will be WrestleMania Night 1. Don't forget at noon, NXT Stand and Deliver. Dolph Ziggler, Braun Breaker for the NXT title. You've got Mandy Rose in a 4-way match for the NXT Women's title. And until then, this time I'll do it for real. So long from the Sunshine State.